It was a cold, moonless night when I decided to take a shortcut through the old forest. The path was overgrown and the trees seemed to whisper as the wind rustled through their branches. I had always heard stories about this forest, but I never believed them. Ghost stories to keep children in line, I thought. The deeper I ventured, the quieter it became. The only sound was my own breathing, loud and ragged in the stillness. I told myself I wasn't scared, just tired from the long day. I kept walking, but I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. Suddenly, I heard a twig snap behind me. I froze, straining my ears. Another snap, closer this time. I whipped around, but there was nothing there, only darkness. My heart pounded in my chest as I quickened my pace, trying to convince myself it was just an animal. Then, I saw it. A figure standing just off the path, shrouded in shadow. It didn't move, didn't make a sound. I wanted to run, but my legs felt like lead. The figure stepped forward, and I could see its eyes now, dark, empty pits that seemed to suck in all the light around them. I stumbled back, tripping over a root and falling hard onto the ground. The figure was closer now. A cold, clammy hand reached out, and I felt a chill seep into my bones. "No one ever leaves," it whispered, its voice like nails on a chalkboard. I scrambled to my feet and ran, branches scratching at my face and arms as I fled. I didn't stop until I burst out of the forest and into the safety of my car. My hands shook as I fumbled with the keys, finally managing to start the engine and speed away. I never took that shortcut again, but sometimes, late at night, I still hear the whispering of the trees and feel the cold chill of that hand. And I know, deep down, that I was lucky to escape, because no one ever leaves. Months passed, and I tried to forget the incident. Then one night, I received a letter in the mail. No return address. Inside was a single, old photograph of a young couple standing in the same forest. Behind them, barely visible, was the figure with the dark, empty eyes. My blood ran cold. The next morning, I visited the local library to research the forest history. I discovered old news articles about people disappearing in the forest, dating back over a century. They all shared one thing in common: a photograph of the victims with that same shadowy figure lurking in the background. Determined to find answers, I returned to the forest armed with a flashlight and a camera. As I walked the familiar path, I felt the same oppressive silence. I took pictures of the trees, the ground, and the shadows. Then, I saw it again. The figure, closer this time. I snapped a photo, but the camera refused to capture it. The figure moved swiftly, and suddenly, it was right in front of me. Its hand reached out, but this time, I felt a strange sense of calm. "Why me?" I whispered, feeling a strange compulsion to understand. The figure's face twisted into a smile. "You belong here," it replied, "like the others." Before I could react, the ground beneath me gave way, and I fell into darkness. When I awoke, I was in a small, dimly lit room filled with old photographs and letters. The faces of the missing stared back at me, and I realized I had become part of the forest history. Desperation filled me as I searched for a way out. The door was locked, and the windows were barred. As I looked closer, I saw the photos had been altered. The eyes of the victims were now dark and empty, just like the figures. In the mirror, my own reflection had changed too. My eyes were now the same dark, empty pits. Realization dawned on me. I was now the watcher. The forest had claimed me, and I was to be its guardian, to lure others into its grasp. The last piece of humanity I had left wrote this story, hoping to warn anyone who might read it. If you're reading this, stay away from the forest, for once you enter, you may never leave.